Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so as you know, we are no longer working together. Mm-hmm. How did you feel when I resigned?
I totally understand why there had to be so many narratives to explain why she left, because you couldn't think of Collins Chilisa without her, or her without Collins Chilisa. It's as if she was part of her coming up, like being born, like birth certificate, written, employer Collins Chilisa Consultants. That's how you'd think about it.
I've known Shatani since she joined Collins Chilisa in 2015. I had the honor and privilege to get to know her rather well. She worked with me on numerous matters, and she was a delight to have, both socially and professionally, as part of our legal team at Collins Chilisa.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long journey. It was actually more than 7 years because remember you did your final year internship with me.
Yeah.
And that's when you decided that you were going to join me.
I mean, people don't know the story of how I actually even started interning here, how God's Glory had put in a good word for me, and then you had initially refused because you said you had too many interns.
Interestingly, I can actually remember the exact moment I decided I was probably going to become a lawyer. My mom, as many of you might already know, is a lawyer herself, and she started off as a magistrate. And growing up, she would bring her colleagues over to the house and they would discuss, various legal issues. They would talk about accused persons and the Chief Justice. And it just sounded so cool. And I thought to myself, you know what? I want to be that girl.
In school, there was always other kids, and then there was Shatani Somolekae. There was the rest and Shatani. That's just how it was. And anybody who's been with her in her childhood just knows Hore. She was destined for greatness. She was destined to be a leader.
We're gathered here to celebrate the Day of the African Child. And you are very special, and celebrate this day to the maximum. Thank you.
Bursting with life, joy, and energy, her name, which means rejoice, has unsurprisingly defined how she interacts with the world. Shatani Dapapiwa Somolekae. Born in February 1991 at 3 a.m. in the morning at Nyangabwe Referral Hospital in Francistown, Botswana's second capital, Shatani came as a kid with big radiant energy. Many that know her can attest to the energetic force she brings to the room, inspiring others and uplifting their spirits.
One thing that I thought set her apart was her general aura. She has a very positive aura, which most clients seemed to like and appreciate very much.
Growing up, Shatani had an innate ability to lead and care for people. She grew up serving the church and evolved to be peer counselor in various institutions. At 21 years, she raised thousands of pula for the Hamudubu Children's Home through an initiative she founded called the Treasure Box Project, where she encouraged her fellow peer counselors to collect one pula from students for a period of a week. Versatile and fluid as air, Shatani was a kid who had a wide range of extracurricular activities, demonstrating why she has an ability to concentrate and follow through with tasks. What may come as a surprise to most is that Shatani is a seasoned musician with over 15 years experience playing 2 instruments and half a decade playing in a band. This explains her delicate sensitivity when dealing with clients and the warmth she radiates in handling matters.
I am a person of versatility. I love music, and music has been invaluable in my practice as a lawyer because it requires you to be sensitive. And I bring that empathy into my practice, which many of my clients have attested to.
Yeah, she's a people-centric person, which of course has its own advantages and its own disadvantages. If it's, overdone from a commercial perspective, that could work to one's detriment.
Her ability to articulate, communicate, and express may appear to come naturally, but this comes as a result of years of training as a champion debater and public speaker from childhood. Her style of approaching communication with stillness and compassion has been influenced by the opportunity to preach on the pulpit on several occasions at her community church. As for her airy poise, one can see it as luck in genetics, but groomed by her participation in beauty pageants, she is a big believer in the philosophy that looking good and presenting oneself well is a form of good manners.
Beauty pageantry. I was in several beauty pageants growing up. Never actually won a title, unfortunately. I was always first princess, So beauty pageantry taught me the power of branding, and now I'm obviously referred to as the attorney at fashion. And of course, image is super important in the industry that I'm in, the legal industry.
Academically, she continued to excel and was always one of the top students in the school. And not only that, she was always a leader. Head girl, prefect, class captain, and chairperson are all roles she has carried out with passion and a sense of purpose. Even in legal practice, her leadership qualities stood out so much that in just 3 years of practice, she was endorsed by the People's Accolade Law magazine as a top legal millennial of Afrocentric origin. Following that, Mboki Chilisa entrusted her to set up and run the second branch of Collins Chilisa Consultants in Francistown, taking her back to her roots. This task she gladly accepted and diligently executed.
Look at that.
Yeah, so this is where I work every time I'm in F-Town. Feel free for come or visit for a consultation.
Yeah.
Free though. I wanted to ask what you thought made me a good candidate for running the Francistown branch.
I thought you were very focused, very loyal, very disciplined, and those were qualities that one was looking for somebody who can be able to run a practice. I thought you got on well with everyone. You had a way of bringing people together, and true to what I thought, they loved you very much, and even today they still speak of you and how great you were.
I guess I felt that I had given my heart, my soul, my energy to Collins Chilisa, to its expansion, the fact that, unlike many firms in this country, you have two, not one, and I believe that's part of my legacy.
At her core, she believes her purpose is to empower others, a belief she accredits to growing up in a spiritual family that made it their mission to continuously give back to their community. This harnessed her skill as a mentor and fueled the momentum to guide others, which translated into How to Survive Law School, an initiative she founded to help law students strategically and successfully navigate law school. The foundation of this ushered her naturally into being appointed chairperson of the Motel Lawyers Mentorship Trust, where she currently serves.
As we toast to our values as the trust, to inclusivity, diversity, sustainability, and collaboration. To Motel.
Her reputation precedes her. She's young, she's assertive, she's brilliant, she's empathetic, and most importantly for me, She's a young leader, so she's the future. I needed a chairperson to lead the trust. Shatani and I had not met at that point. However, because of the qualities that I just alluded to, she was a perfect candidate for that position.
The irony of it all, I deal with terminations and resignations all the time. So of course, when the queen of employment power quit her job, it had to make the news. Employment law is my niche. But for those who understood, they were able to immediately recognize that it was the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. Unfortunately, some were negatively curious, when all it was is the fact that my purpose, or the reason for which I had been at Collins Chilisa, had been fulfilled, and therefore a need to gracefully say goodbye.
As you know, we are no longer working together. How did you feel when I resigned?
Well, there were mixed emotions. Very bold, very assertive. Obviously, the resignation was a bit dramatic in the sense that it came when I think it was 1:30 in the morning.
1 a.m. because that's what was happening in my world at the time, you know. If you remember, we had talked the day before.
And I think I must have saw it when I got up around 4. But obviously I had other things to tend to. I said, all right, I will deal with this when I get to the office, when I dealt with the more pressing stuff. And from my perspective, I was like, well, she has given me 7 years of service. It would be very unfair to ask anyone to continue to give more than that. But yeah, in terms of the time that we spent here, it was only fair that after 7 years, obviously you should go and pursue other ambitions, and I fully understood all of that. But, you know, I would have the same ambitions as well. I don't think I want to work for the same employer for more than 7 years. I think after 7 years, one ought to try something else. And yeah, the timing was probably right.
It was her time to leave, and she had given up herself to the firm, and the firm had also given up a lot of opportunity to her.
Shatani is a good lawyer in the sense that she's incisive about what she does. She takes whatever brief you give her seriously and moves that brief as soon as possible towards an end game. And in my book, that is what differentiates an ordinary lawyer from a very good lawyer, because what the client wants is not to be looking at you or spending 2 years of your time. The client wants an end game, and they want it as soon as possible. And Shatani is plugged in to that ethic. I wish her every success, and whatever I can do to make sure that that success is achievable, I will, because I love this girl very, very much.
For me, it was an absolute joy, being able to see your rise, transformation. And that transformation happened, in a very short period of time. You were able to appreciate why it is as a practice. We took up causes and challenges like that.
Yeah.
I know in the beginning you were a bit uncomfortable.
Well, yes.
But,
it was always audacious arguments.
Yeah, eventually you seem to enjoy them a bit.
I did.
Maybe not as much as I do.
Wow.
I did, but you certainly seem to enjoy it in the end.
Well, I think I enjoyed it from the beginning. I just think that, I always like the devil's advocate approach. And if I remember the judge's case very well, there was 2 arguments, and the one that we argued intensively on was the renewal of a contract. And I remember you called me like a black letter lawyer, and I think for a whole month you were like teasing me about that. But funny enough, the court agreed with my black letter approach. So it's not like I didn't like it. I guess it was different, obviously, and I always like to sort of check both sides of the coin. But yeah, I guess I appreciate that in the end you realized that I was on, the firm side. Well, I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for you opening your doors to me from day one. I guess in a sense, it's 7 years, and I'm also grateful for them. I think, like you say, the timing was perfect. I'm at peace with it, honestly. It's a lot of gratitude. I wouldn't be the lawyer that I am without Collins Chilisa, and that's a fact. And I'm definitely going to miss everybody. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss Peter, working with him. And I guess I wouldn't have had the opportunity to work as closely with the Peter Collins if I wasn't here. And I'm glad for the opportunities that have arisen from the commercial law perspective with him. I'm also grateful for all the chess games, and at least now I can say that I have checkmated you a couple of times.
So, I am extremely grateful to have worked with the 2 gentlemen for close to a decade, where I've had the opportunity to garner extensive experience and skill, and I consider myself to possess an amalgamation of the 3 in terms of skill set from a business perspective as well as a legal perspective, and I intend to bring that in to my journey moving forward.
With all this trajectory established, it is evident that so much is to come from Shatani Somolekae. For all those who are joining in on the ride, prepare yourself for a higher consciousness, elevation, and having all your legal affairs in order as she presents Somolekae and Associates.
I'd like to thank all of you for taking a keen interest in my story. It was certainly difficult for me, but it had to be done. Displaying that level of courage and vulnerability was no easy task, but I did it because I wanted to empower you through sharing my own personal experiences. And I believe they attest to my type of leadership, which is servant leadership and feminine leadership. And I will be taking that forward into my new venture, Somolekae and Associates. We get your legal affairs in order, and feel free to contact me at shatani@somolekae.com.
Yeah, we're done.
Done?
Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
All right. Hold on. There's the clip. Where's the board? There you go.
And
Take one take.